Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour, the show is going to the dogs. Well, not really, but actually, before we begin, I would like to thank all of you at home for voting Something to Talk About, 2019's Viewer's Choice for a series here at BCAT. So thank you very much. I couldn't do it without you, and I couldn't do it without the other volunteers that help me on Wednesday evenings. So I would like to thank those volunteers right now, although the first person I'd like to thank is Chris Flaherty, who is one of the staff members here, making sure that the rest of us volunteers do behave ourselves. We have Colleen Moore, Jolie Atwood, and hoping to become a regular volunteer, Dominic Squilini. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out at BCAT on Wednesday evening. If you would like to email me with a suggestion for a future topic or a question that you might not have the chance to ask right now, you can always email me at talk@bcattv.org. And my guests might not realize this, but we are live this evening. So if you have a question for my wonderful guests, whom you will meet momentarily, you can always give us a call at 781-270-9199. Ooh, and last but definitely not least, with my thank yous, I want to thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night, although tonight was hip hop dance class because our recital's coming up soon, so thank you for that. And now, I would like to introduce my wonderful guests for this evening. We have Phyllis Neufeld and Brendan Egan. And Phyllis, you are a committee member of the Friends of the Burlington Dog Park.
Right, and the Dog Park Committee.
And the Dog Park Committee. Okay, so we're going to have to figure out what the differences of those two things are. And Brendan Egan is the director of the Burlington Parks and Rec Department, which kind of oversees
Correct.
the dog park.
We oversee the maintenance and operation of the dog park.
Okay. Well, as we begin, I would like to find out a little bit more about both of you. So if you could tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington area, and how you became interested in getting involved in the dog park.
I grew up in New Jersey and came to college here to BU.
Oh, excellent.
And never left. I don't like cold, and I think every summer I forget that cold is coming.
Yeah.
So I stayed. I moved to Burlington in 1996 and to raise my family, my daughter, and my husband.
Yeah, he's still a work in progress, though, probably.
And my two dogs.
What kind of dogs?
I have a Morkie Poo. Her name is Sophie. She is going to be 8 years old in June. She was a rescue. And Oli, short for Olaf, who is a Chinese crested and poodle. And he was also rescued from the streets of Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow.
So both my dogs are afraid of life. I think they were both abused. And actually, the love from them is just wonderful.
It's
and
so unconditional.
that's how I got to be an advocate for dogs and
Yay!
on the committee.
Well, as we'll talk about it later, my sister thanks you. So we'll go into that a little bit later. Brendan.
Sure.
Let's recap.
All right. So I actually grew up in Connecticut, from upstate New York, but grew up in Connecticut. Met my wife in college, wound up here in 1997, full-time, right after we got married, or 1998, and started with the town of Burlington in 1999, worked for 10 years for the town, went off and worked for another town and came back about 5 years ago.
You missed us so much.
I did. Burlington is an awesome community. It really is. I'm so thankful. We have an awesome Parks and Recreation department. The staff there, our staff is better than anyone. I think we have the best Parks and Recreation department in the state by far. And then, you know, our committees and volunteers that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Phyllis is a perfect example of, you know, dedication and commitment and, you know, caring about a cause. And when I started back here 5 years ago, the dog park was something that was just really starting up. And we can go into that later. But I live in Beverly now with my wife and 2 kids and, well, 3, Chocolate Lab, Chloe, who will be 4. I had dogs growing up. My wife is not a dog person, said we'd never get a dog. But about 4.5 years ago, she started, I would send emails of rescue dog. Hey, look, we could get this one, we could get that one. We're not getting a dog, we're not getting a dog. And then all of a sudden, she started showing me dogs.
Oh,
so,
you won her over.
Yes, I did. And Chloe
Labs
is.
are big dogs, too.
They are. Chloe she's about 76 pounds. She's half English, half American lab. Okay. So she's a good mix and not too big. Loves to swim, and that is as Phyllis said, the love that you get and give to your dog. It's unconditional. I walk in the door and that dog is right there, jumping up and wants to play. And some of my best stress relief is taking her out. Just she can swim all day long and will swim all day long. In the ocean in February, she just wants to be in the water, and that's some of the best stress relief, and I'm sure you find that just spending time with them because it's unconditional. Cool. Your kids grow out of that unconditional love, unfortunately.
And cats, they're like, oh, you're home.
Yeah, but the only difference is your kids will eventually grow up and move away.
Right.
Dogs don't do that.
Yep. So I have a connection with dogs, and as far as so it was a little bit of a passion for me to see this dog park through, and like I said, we have a great dog park committee that worked tirelessly on the effort.
Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned that when you returned to Burlington, the dog park was kind of already gaining some momentum. So, Phyllis, can you kind of fill me in on why did Burlington decide to have a dog park?
Well, we could if I had been involved at that time.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
But I wasn't. So I do know that about 15 years ago, there was an attempt to have a dog park in Burlington at the TRW field.
Oh, yeah, on Mall Road.
In the back, right off Mall Road. And there had been an attempt and some meetings, and the plans never got off the ground for whatever reason.
Okay. So why now? Why did it work 15 years later? Is it because we changed to Rahanis?
Yeah.
Or
the town was approached. So in around December of 2013, the town was approached by the Stanton Foundation. The Stanton Foundation has 3 missions. One is dog welfare, canine welfare. Okay. One is canine protection, like for police officers and military. And then one that doesn't fit, like a nuclear science type of thing. So they have a couple dog things and then something else. And they are heavily involved in seeing dog parks built around Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
So
now, is it just Massachusetts based, or is
yes,
it?
They haven't gone into New Hampshire or anything yet. They may expand at some point, but it is just Massachusetts. So we are seeing them approach different towns around. I think they're based out of Cambridge, I believe, and we were lucky enough to be approached by them, and the committee was formed right before I started. They had an exploratory meeting, and there was a good amount of interest, so it continued forward. And then I got involved in March of 2014.
Okay.
And I got involved right after that.
Perfect. So you mentioned that you're on the committee, but you're also friends of the Burlington Dog Park. What's the difference?
The Burlington Dog Committee, we meet with Brendan and go over what the park needs and talk about improvements and work all of that stuff out. The Friends of the Dog Park are more on the donation side and how can we help the park.
All right.
And what can we do to help the park.
Okay. And you have an upcoming fundraiser.
We do.
Tell me about that, and we'll talk about it later, just so everybody knows.
I have a handy-dandy little coupon here that you can get on our website, or you can get off of our website page or Facebook.
Okay.
I can give you what they are. I did bring them. You can go under burlingtondogpark.com.
Okay.
or on Facebook, you can just Google Burlington
Or
Dog
search for
Park
Burlington.
and find it. And this is at the Bamboo Restaurant
Ooh,
on
yummy.
June 23rd, which is a Sunday.
Buffet day.
It includes buffet, it includes off the menu, it includes your drinks, and it also includes takeout
Ooh.
if you can't stay for the day. And you can give this ticket that's on this coupon, or you can see one of us,
Okay.
you know, to get, or just tell them that
Okay.
you're there for the Friends of the
Friends of
Dog
the Dog
Park,
Park.
or for the dog park. You don't even have to say Friends of. And we get 20%.
Wow.
That goes straight to the dog park.
Okay, so
so we really like people to come out and support us.
Exactly. Sushi.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely.
You probably don't wanna
Sunday, June
share
23rd.
with your dog. Dogs don't like sushi,
No,
or do they?
no. I don't know, but my dog does not get fed sushi.
It's probably a good idea. So June 23rd. So that is on the website.
That is on the website and it's on the Facebook page.
Okay.
And it's on flyers that are all over the rec
will.
department.
Find them everywhere.
Yep. You will.
Excellent. So we identified this foundation came to you, and said, let's build a dog park. So then what happened?
So we started meeting fairly regularly in the spring of 2014, and we started looking at some locations. It fizzled a little over the summer, but we got back into things in the fall. We identified a location. The original location was at Rahanis Park, adjacent to the tennis courts, under the high tension wires. And we worked, we worked with the power company on, having, because they have a right of way
'Cause
there.
That's their. Okay. Now, do
Correct.
they own that land?
They just have a right of way
Okay.
across it. So it got pretty deep, into discussions, but it was determined that they didn't feel it was the safest spot for dogs based on a safety factor that they have. It's called step potential for some kind of shock that could potentially happen, rare, very rare. But, humans have a step potential of 2. We have 2 feet. Dogs have 4. Now you're putting 6 in there, and the amount of dogs. And it was okay. So we went back to the drawing board, identified 3 or 4 locations across town. And
TRW was one of them.
Yep, TRW was one of
so
them.
it was back.
Yep, we looked at area over by Miter. We looked at Overlook Park, which is where the Burlington Community Theater Group of Burlington
okay,
or
up
Burlington
there.
Players.
Yep.
And the Parks and Recreation Department has a maintenance garage there. That was kind of tucked away.
Yeah.
And then we identified another area at Rahanis where it currently sits. So we moved forward and started working on plans for that. We secured a landscape architect to do a preliminary plan.
Now, is there like a specific type of landscape architect that focuses on dog parks?
There isn't, but more and more landscape architects are designing dog parks, especially the ones that work with municipalities, because it is very popular. Dogs aren't leave them outside chained up 12 hours a day and then they come in at night, or they sleep in a doghouse. They're part of your family now.
Yeah.
In a good way. I mean, some people take it too far, and but I think they're part of families now. They're an extension of families.
The kids that never grow up.
Right. But they also, as Phyllis pointed out earlier, there's unconditional love there, and they don't move out. They stay. And it's always there. So we identified that area. We secured a landscape architect who came in and worked with the dog park committee, and we had a public meeting and got input on what people wanted to see, what are some of the features, what do we like about other parks. People visited other parks.
Right. What were their concerns?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Neat.
And so it was really good. But in this whole thing, the Recreation Commission decided they wanted to go forward with the Stanton grant.
Okay.
The Stanton Foundation pays 80% of your total cost for the dog park.
Okay.
And it's up to the municipality to raise the other 20%, come up with it. The Recreation Commission said, we want to see this, but we tasked the dog park committee with raising that 20%.
Okay. Hence the Friends.
So out of that, yes, the Friends of is a 501c3 nonprofit, and was tasked with raising that 20%. and they did a phenomenal job.
Yay!
They did a phenomenal job. We're so thankful for all of their help. And
Cool.
yeah. So in the Friends of is kind of a mixture of people that were on the dog park committee. You know, they said, "Oh, let's form this Friends of." So some people serve on both.
Okay.
You know,
like you.
but they're
me.
two separate. One
Okay.
is fundraising to support the park, the maintenance, upkeep,
Okay.
long-term care of the park, and then the dog park committee is the one that sits down with me and we talk about features that we'd like to see in the park, or what's working, what's not, improvements, maintenance issues, and we then I bring that to the Recreation Commission if it needs a vote.
Okay.
So
Wow. I think my head's ready to
Yeah.
explode. Now, on the bottom of I think, might be the Friends website, it talks about Massachusetts law, and there's like a whole bunch of technobabble on the bottom of that. Are there what are some of the laws that you have to be sure to follow with a dog park? Is it licensing? Is it?
I think you can. I don't. You may be familiar. I think that has to do more with their 501c3 status, their
Right.
nonprofit status.
Okay.
The state of Massachusetts does not have a set of laws for dog parks
Okay.
because each community, treats things differently.
Okay. So it's up to the local
Right.
authority.
And
to-
we, speaking
Right.
of laws, we looked at 12 different
Must have been.
parks at least,
Wow.
in state, out of state, and there was a lot of similarities on the rules. So obviously we were going to, gravitate towards those, but then you might have some site-specific rules. I don't know off the top of my head a site-specific one for Burlington's Dog Park, but that I can think of. But
No toys, maybe?
yeah, that was on a couple. Yeah, no toys. Some of the rules probably seem arbitrary to people, but there
Yeah.
was reasons behind
Okay.
each one.
So, let's find out. Since you brought up the no toys, why not? Because all dogs
Do you
love
wanna answer that?
chasing
Yeah.
tennis balls. So.
Because we want everyone to be safe in the dog park. And if you
Okay.
bring in toys that, for instance, your dog knows that that's its toy, and
Okay.
another dog wants to play with that toy,
Okay.
that could cause issues.
Okay.
And we're looking to have them play, but be safe.
Okay. Well, that does make
Yeah,
sense.
so they're not fighting over a toy. Like two kids fighting over a ball or
Oh, that never.
a doll or
happens.
whatever. Yeah, sure.
Said sarcasm.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Well, I was really excited because I think I mentioned to Phyllis earlier that my sister was visiting from Rochester, and she has a new puppy. Well, he's 7 months old now. And we're like, okay, our yard is not fenced in. We're not a dog-friendly household because we just don't have dogs. And we want to make sure little Jackson was safe. So I said, oh, Burlington has a dog park. And apparently where my sister lives, you have to pay a membership to go, and you have to have like a little license for use of the dog park, and there's like a passcode to get in and out of the dog
Oh,
park.
my goodness. We're
And
not.
she was pleasantly surprised to find out that that's not the case.
No, I know Beverly has a dog park,
Okay.
and they charge admission. But the other dog parks in this area
Okay.
don't do that.
Okay.
We're open and friendly,
Well, that's
and we just
cool.
ask that you abide by our rules.
Okay. So some of the rules are that, there's a little holding area that the dogs have to be leashed until they get in there because you don't want them running off. And then, now there are 2 sections set up. Is that for like little dogs and big dogs, or why do you have separate areas?
It's for active and passive dogs.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
up to the owner to decide where their dog would be most comfortable.
Okay. So that way, if they, start in the passive, they can smell the other dogs in the other area and play
Yep.
through the fence, and then maybe switch or something.
There's some little dogs, that will hold their own with big dogs.
Yes, little
So
Jackson
they're
was
active.
doing that.
Okay, yeah. And the whole unleashing area, you brought up the
Okay.
double gate system. So you come in and you're not opening a gate right into the park. Dogs trying to rush out, it's not fair to the person bringing their dog in to have to deal with 3 or 4 dogs trying
Right.
to, and they all want to smell each other. They all want to, so you have this unleashing area where you
Okay.
come in, you close the outside gate, you're in a little courtyard that we have, engraved bricks in, and then you can unleash your dog and open the gate to the park
Okay.
itself so the dogs can flow in. And it's a safety thing, and so you're not letting other dogs go.
Cool. Now, I did notice the engraved bricks, and I'm guessing I kind of sort of remember buy a brick for the dog park.
Right.
Can you still buy bricks?
We closed that a
Okay.
couple of months ago.
Okay.
It had gone on for about 2 years, I think, a year and a half to 2 years, and it was probably our biggest fundraiser,
Excellent.
and worked out very well. But we closed it.
Okay. Now, are there other permanent fundraisers like the brick program?
Well, there's
That
one
you
that we
might-
do every year annually, and that's the Burlington Goes to the Dogs Day.
Oh,
And the
Okay.
next one is going to be, we're trying, you don't know this yet.
Uh-oh.
We came up with 2 dates at tonight's meeting, either September 29th or October 6th, which are Sundays. And we were hoping one of those would work.
Yeah.
so what happens at
that-
Burlington Goes to the Dogs?
We ask you to bring your dog on leash, please.
On leash, okay.
And there are contests, like we usually have a Halloween contest because it's been in October.
fun. Okay. Like the
That's
dogs
for the
dress up?
dogs dress up, not the people. We
Which is
have
another reason why there aren't cat parks, because cats wouldn't tolerate
No.
that.
really. We have demonstrations, so the police canine dog
Oh.
might do a demonstration.
Okay.
Another dog might do a demonstration of calls. One year we had a Frisbee dog come.
Oh, fun.
There are vendors that are there so that you can go around and pick up treats.
Okay.
There's water for the dogs. And it's a great day just to come and hang out. It's out at the park.
Okay. Is there
and
like a
it's-
fee to participate?
There is no fee to participate. There is a fee if you want to buy lunch.
Which is
hot
fair
dogs or
enough.
hamburgers.
Okay, hot dogs at a dog park.
I know. I know.
Never thought about that.
I have.
No dogs were
It'd be
harmed,
great
but,
if you had a little miniature dachshund come trotting through and look at the hot dogs. Like, hey, what are you doing? You know?
The other thing that I should mention also is that we have raffle baskets.
Ooh,
And
At this
real
event.
at this event,
Okay.
and they are really good baskets. I won 2 micro dog chips.
Oh, wow.
The installation and putting them in, and it's not just dog baskets. It's a lot of dog baskets, but it's not only dog baskets.
Okay.
Last year we had some chiropractor
Cool.
coupons that you could go for free and whatnot.
Wow.
So it's well worth.
Excellent. So
coming
that's
to.
where the fundraising comes in.
Yes.
Is the silent auctions for the raffles. Cool. So
Yes.
this is an annual event,
Yes,
and it would be available on the website once a date has been
absolutely.
selected.
Yeah, and it's we see a couple hundred people and dogs, and I
Wow.
know
2
you
to
know,
Now, is
400.
it actually at Rohannes or is
Yeah.
it somewhere else?
200 to 400,
We
somewhere
actually
in there, yeah.
do it right in front of the dog park on the softball field.
Okay.
So we also have vendors, local veterinarian clinics. TD Bank has been there. Some dog sitters, dog walkers.
Okay.
Wegmans was there.
Yep.
Petco has been there. Unleashed by
Okay.
Petco has been there. So we try to get themed, sponsors
kind
and
of
vendors,
tie,
right?
okay.
So they, the cost. There's a cost associated with having a table, and you can get a banner and things like that. So it's a joint fundraising effort by the Parks and Recreation Department and the Friends of the Dog Park Committee and the Friends of, and it really is. The raffle baskets are awesome. There's some really good stuff there, and
guys are
you
gonna
would
be in
know
competition with the
more. But
library.
would it be probably the second biggest fundraiser after the bricks? Will
Absolutely.
probably be that day.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's really we've lucked out with knock on wood here with good weather for a couple years. So
Right.
the fall is pleasant. Good day to get out.
And
Okay.
periodically during the year, we do various fundraisers at restaurants, like we're doing at Bamboo
Like bamboo. Okay.
in June. We do we were doing more of them. until we got to the threshold of where the money we needed to raise.
Okay.
And now we do a couple a year.
Okay, so what is the money still being raised used for? I mean, the park's there. What maintenance needs to get done?
Well, there's the normal maintenance that we do, but we also look at how do we want to improve the park?
Okay.
What could we do to do that? What
Do you
do we
have, like,
need
a
to
priority
add?
list of
For
stuff?
instance, we looked at would an obstacle course, or not a course, but just some kind of
Obstacles.
cement tubing or something for the dogs to play on.
Okay.
Is that the way we want to go?
Okay.
We looked at pea stone versus other stone or
okay.
other
What's in there now? Because there is some gravel.
pea stone, and then there's some canine
Stone
grass.
dust.
And
Yeah,
some
there's stone dust. So there's really 3 different surfaces. There's
okay.
stone dust, which is, that really fine stone that packs. It's gray.
Okay.
And that comes up one side of the park goes, so you can access, the complete park by that. And then there's pea stone in the middle. So
Okay.
some dogs, have a hard time with the pea stone that gets in their pads and stuff.
Okay.
So they have the ability to go on the all the way to the
outside.
canine grass
Okay.
on the stone dust. But then we have canine grass, which is just like your artificial turf, your sports field,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have an infill of crumb rubber or sand.
Okay.
It's got a thicker weave on the back, so the water and everything
Okay.
flows through quicker and dissipates. So that's a whole section at the back of the park. So there's different surfaces that the dogs
Okay.
can play on. And with the Stanton Foundation, we can go back to them for the first 5 years for 3 capital improvement grants
Okay.
for approximately 5% of the cost of the park.
The first one's coming up.
Yeah, the first one is coming up. So we've been meeting and talking about things, and Phyllis mentioned a couple of them. We also talked about maybe some type of shade structure.
Okay.
In the summer, when it's sunny out there, the back left corner of the park is shaded, for the good part of the day.
Okay.
But then as the sun moves over to the soccer fields, it comes right back on everything. And
okay.
so looking at something to, we have 3 trees in there. They're
I was going to
only
say,
a
we
year
planted
old.
trees, but
They're only a
trees.
year old. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's going to be a couple of years before they mature and can start to give some shade.
Okay.
So that's something we looked at. And then changing the surface, coming from the parking lot, we have a crushed stone, like a 1/4-inch
Yeah,
crushed stone
okay.
path. And, we're looking to make that maybe stone dust a little more smooth. So people with a disability, they may be coming in a wheelchair, can have access further out.
Okay.
And, it's just it's a little nicer of a surface.
Now, when it's
so.
called stone dust,
it's
does
dusty.
it have to be replenished? Does it wash away with, is there erosion? And
Yeah,
stuff that
to some
all of it
extent,
has to be
yes.
replenished at some
Okay.
point. So using, maybe the first year we add a shade structure, we add some obstacles, some play equipment for dogs out there, something like that. Maybe the second year or third year we replenish some of the stone. Maybe the friends of, they decide, hey, we're not going to wait for that Stanton grant. We can get a load of stone for this amount of money. We're willing to do that. And the town will do the labor, that kind of thing. So.
One thing that we would have liked to do is have more canine grass.
Okay.
Canine grass is extremely expensive,
Okay.
and so it was cost prohibitive to,
Do the whole thing and okay.
so we did what we could.
Now, can you piece it together so it looks?
So adding some,
Yeah.
we could definitely add some.
Okay.
Definitely. And as
Is that
Phyllis
like your-
mentioned, it is expensive. It's something we looked at, but
Okay.
the cost, for the area that we were looking at just inside the gate would be about $20,000
Yeah.
plus installation.
Wow.
So
Yeah, we were
obviously,
hoping where that strip is, so to
Okay.
prevent the dust from going too far, to put the canine grass there, and just for that strip,
Wow.
it was too much.
if you're buying in bulk, it's obviously cheaper. In the installation, if they're doing a small piece as opposed to if you're doing a large area like a full football field or soccer field or
Yeah.
even a baseball field in it, your price per square foot is going to be cheaper because of the volume you're buying. In the installation, you know.
Plus, you still have to get them out. They, get out
Correct.
there with the equipment. So
Correct. So maybe it's something we save up. Maybe we don't
Okay.
do it this year. Maybe it's something next year, but we'll be making those decisions coming up.
Okay. Let's get back to some of the rules of the dog park. So is there any system to make sure that all dogs there are licensed, that they have their rabies, and how do you go about making sure that all the dogs stay safe?
So a lot of it's on the honor system.
Okay.
And we have a lot of, like Phyllis and some of our other members who are at the dog park a lot, and kind of policing. We ask people to self-police. We don't station someone down there, and that wouldn't be cost prohibitive, or that would be cost prohibitive.
Okay.
To have
Yeah.
someone there. I think people are comfortable, speaking up and saying, oh, don't forget to pick up after your dog. We don't want it to be confrontational. We want people to follow the rules. Licensing, I've been in there a number of times, and I don't go over and check a dog and say, oh, this looks like it expired last month. It's
That expired yesterday.
It comes in. It would probably come into play more if there was a problem with a dog. If a dog was being aggressive and the owner refused to remove it,
Okay.
We ask that people, if that's an issue going on, that they call the Parks and Recreation Department office.
Okay.
We'll come down, talk to the person. If it's outside of our hours, we ask that they call the dog officer,
Okay.
who's been really cooperative with the whole effort. So.
Okay. Because I'm just wondering, like, if you get a bunch of dogs in the same area, some of them play nice with each other, some of them might not play nice. It all depends on the owners. What happens if a dog either gets injured or gets attacked and injured by another dog? Is there like a liability? Is it on the owner? Is there liability insurance at the dog park itself?
Right. The town has liability insurance, and
Okay.
we went through this with town council, and that they would, take it obviously case by case, but we would hope that if someone's dog injured another dog, that they would step up and be responsible.
Right.
We'd obviously make a report to the dog officer,
Okay.
especially if there are 2 Burlington dogs, and
Okay.
they can, the dog officer will be able to check records at town hall,
Okay.
with the clerk's office, make sure they're up to date, probably pay them a visit, and have a conversation with them. But we hope to prevent that
Well,
by
this is-
having, active owners. And so you bring your dog to a dog park,
Right.
you tend to congregate with humans, right?
Exactly.
But you're keeping your eye on your dog. The idea is that your dog is in your eyesight at all times. Not that you have to follow it around, but that you're watching
you're not
over
on
your
the
dog.
sofa.
Right.
Right.
I did ask someone to leave one day. They were on their phone. They had gotten one of those calls where, call us back and we have this awesome vacation. And I could hear them talking, and I finally said, the dog's running around, jumping on other dogs. I finally said, sir, if you're going to be on the phone, you need to take your dog out of the dog park, because it's causing other dogs to be upset and not have a good
Right.
time.
You know, and
Little
I've
upset at that, but, eventually they went out. But
and I've certainly asked whose dog is this, to find out and say, could you please?
Yeah.
The major things that I see are bringing in balls or toys, and bringing in food, and not picking up after your dog. I have made it a habit. I walk the dog park when I'm there to pick up whatever's there, because not everyone
Oh, yeah.
looks after their dog that way. And so we're asking people to do that. We've put
You even have bags right there.
we put the bags right there, and they're on the back fence.
Okay.
So it's
I don't think I ever made it to the back fence with my sister, but I did notice that.
there's a couple spots, one
Okay.
in the passive park and 2 in the active, where you can
Okay.
pick bags up. And there's rules in 3 different spots in the park.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's no excuse. Oh, I didn't know that. And I've gotten that before. I'm sure you probably have. Oh, I didn't know that was a rule. It's number 7 or whatever
Yeah.
number it is. And
Did you look at them when
Right.
you came?
Right. Well, and they're right in front of you on that
Right.
second gate before you open it. The rules are there, and then they're posted in the kiosk. They're posted in a couple other areas in the park. So.
and in the very few times where 2 dogs have been playing and then it gets a little unfriendly, the owners have always separated
Well,
their
that's good.
dogs immediately, and it was fine.
Like with anything, I think in general, people mean well or are
Exactly.
well-intentioned, you know, but
But I'm just
there's
thinking,
always
you know,
there's
in
always
the
rule
planning-
breakers or people who don't see it that way
Well, in the
in
planning,
every.
you always have to have like the contingency plan. If this happens, then this. If this happens, you know, hopefully it
Right.
will never happen.
Right.
Well, I asked someone once to please not throw the ball, and I explained why, because other dogs get jealous and want the ball. And he said, well, I know how to handle my dog. And
It's not your dog we're worried about.
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Someone else may not.
Right. Now, with that, you know, we're talking about owners, and just in general in the news, we're always hearing about dogs, you know, certain breeds of dogs attacking kids and certain breeds of dogs not being allowed places. But a lot of times that is the owner who makes the dog aggressive. Are there rules or limitations because of this mindset that some dogs are evil that we shouldn't have them in the dog park?
Well, I think that's on a case-by-case basis. If the dog is not a problem,
Okay,
We
so you
don't-
don't really have
we
restrictions.
don't
Oh,
say
you
there's
can't
There's
have
any
a
no
dog.
limits
restrictions on
breeds of
breeds.
dogs. Not
Okay.
at all. Not at
right?
all.
Well, that's cool.
If a particular dog is aggressive and it happens more than once, then certainly the recreation department needs to get involved.
Okay. Now, one of the rules, I did read them, I probably don't remember them all, was no choke collars, or was it spiked or something?
Yeah, prong or spike collar.
Yeah.
So we ask you to remove the leash when you come in.
Okay.
And no spike or prong collars. Those are training aids, and it's more for the safety, well, of the dogs. You know, we don't want another dog. You know, dogs wrestle, they play, and you know, we don't want someone's dog to get a paw caught in another collar
Oh, okay.
or a tooth or something like that as they're playing, and you know, so it's a
Safety.
safety
Oh,
issue.
okay.
Yep.
So do they take the collar off and put a different one on, or? Oh,
Yes, we ask them not to have those on at all, and the owner has to have their leash with them at all times, so that if their dog is having an issue, that they can leash them and remove them from the park.
Okay. Now, thinking about training collars and everything, dogs under 6 months old are not allowed. You know, we were very grateful because my sister's dog was 7 months, so she's like, okay, I'm going to be very cautious, see how he plays with others, and we didn't have a problem. He had a blast. But why is there that limitation? Is it because of vaccines, or is it behaviorally, or
Well, it's actually both, but
just because the
mainly
dog's small?
vaccines.
Okay.
And you don't want a dog coming in who's not been vaccinated, God forbid they are sick, to get other dogs sick, or for other dogs that are there to communicate that to the younger
Okay.
dogs.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Another safety issue.
Okay. So again, it's, you know, honor system. So I am a cat person. I fully admit that I am a cat person.
I
but
used to own cats.
should I get a dog? What are some of the things that a dog owner should do to prepare for a visit to the dog park? I mean, what should they bring? What should they be aware of? You know,
I think one of the big things is socialization with other dogs before they get to that environment.
Okay.
You know, even if your dog has had social opportunities with other dogs in the neighborhood, you know, or family members' dogs or whatever, coming to a dog park with a lot of dogs can be stressful for the dog. So I think a lot of times the owner thinks, oh, my dog wasn't good. Your dog was, you know, probably fine. It was reacting to seeing a lot of other dogs.
Okay.
And what do I do? So, you know, I think slowly socializing with other dogs, maybe making a visit and going to the outside of the fence and seeing what that's all about, and letting other dogs and your dog interact through the fence maybe might be a good idea. I mean, Phyllis, you might have some other ideas, but I know, you know, socialization of dogs is important.
I agree. It's very important. The other thing I would do is go to our website, learn what the rules are before you go, so that you're not bringing the food with you and you're not bringing the toys with you, and that you understand that by going to the dog park, you still have a job. Your job is to watch your dog and to make sure that everybody is playing nicely. And and well taken care of, and the park is kept clean. So it's yes, we want the owners to socialize as well. It's a lot more fun sometimes than just a walk.
Exactly.
And we want them to socialize, but we want them to keep an eye on their dog as well. Their family member still needs them.
That's right. That's right.
So, speaking, along the lines of socialization and making sure that everybody's behaving themselves and able to see everything, what is there like a maximum capacity, or does it just depend on your dog? Like, does it get crowded enough that there has to be like only 10 dogs per dog park, or only?
No.
I don't think it's gotten to that point. I think that there's enough dog parks in the area, and people's schedules are so different that the busiest time was probably the grand
When we
opening,
opened.
and then maybe that weekend, because it was nice last June, and so it was new. But as more dog parks are built in the area, I know Billerica has one going in.
Oh, cool.
Bedford is in the process. Woburn has one. So there's lots in this area.
Okay.
And people in Wilmington has one. So some people like to do tours and just rotate around.
Which one does our dog like the most?
Right. I'd like to say most people like ours the most. I love our layout.
I've heard such good things from people about ours versus the others.
And that goes back to the dog park committee and how much thought and they put into the whole process, and looking at other parks, visiting other parks, seeing what you like, what you don't, and being able to put that product in the place. Plus, I think we had a really nice piece of ground to start.
It is a really
level.
We did.
Level and the design of the park lends itself so like the softball field kind of that's in front of it just kind of blends in, and then the soccer fields just kind of blend out the backside. I think it's a really user-friendly dog park, and that park is great already, Rahanis, but it really gave it that wow factor.
An extra little.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have the water fountain. Water fountains
Now,
in the park.
is there running water in the dog park? Because I remember seeing a bowl, and then somebody came over and filled it with like a pitcher or something. So
you might have been there before the water was
the
turned
fountains were
back
put on for the year. So
okay.
Yeah, so they
So you turn them off like during the wintertime.
Correct.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Once the fall hits, October, we start blowing out irrigation lines around town, blowing air through them, pushing the water out, so they don't freeze in the winter. So that's what it has. And then the park also has 5 different, we call them snap valves. They're little valves in the ground that have a cover. You open the cover, and we can put in a sprinkler, and we can water down the park.
Do the dogs get to
for
play in the
cleansing?
sprinkler?
No, we'll close the park when we do that. It'll be,
So like some
early in the
dogs would
morning.
love to play, and they love going
Right.
swimming. So
Right.
And the park's open from dawn to dusk.
okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
does it close for like inclement weather, like rain, or?
So this past winter we closed it.
Briefly.
For safety of and keeping the fence. If we get 8-10 inches of snow, we're not shoveling the
Or
dog park. We're not
24,
shoveling.
yeah.
We're not shoveling a path to it. What I want to prevent is someone jamming the gate open.
Okay.
I don't want someone to fall in there. As it gets slick. But I got some feedback that hey, it's a dog park, and let's enjoy the park. If it were a big storm, if it was 18
understand.
inches
or
plus
hurricane force winds
right.
or something. Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
So it was open most of the winter.
yeah,
oh wow.
yeah, I think it was.
And we had a mild winter at the
We
beginning.
did.
Yeah.
Speaking of mild winter, I heard this is going to be a really nasty year for ticks.
It already
Oh.
is.
Yeah.
So, are there any, as a dog owner, what do you do either at the park or elsewhere to help prevent ticks?
Well, my dogs wear a collar
Okay.
year round that gets changed every 6 months.
Okay.
And there's different ways to, help your dog.
Okay.
With that, I check the dogs.
Okay, because there's woods at Rahanis, and I don't remember how close it is to the dog park. So,
Well, there's a fence in between, but it's close.
Okay.
And so I, just like you do with your kids,
Check 'em.
you check
Okay.
them.
My dog does a tablet, a chewable once a month. Rings on my phone. He said, "All right, Chloe, it's time for your." And she loves it. She thinks it's a wonderful treat. My
Peanut butter wrapped in bacon.
right. My daughter has tested positive for Lyme 3 times in the last 2 years, and my dog has been on this chewable since she was old enough to take a chewable.
Talk to your daughter here.
And
Have
she's
this.
right. So
Works for Chloe.
but yeah, I think you have to be cognizant of that as as an owner.
Okay.
What do we do? How am I going to treat my dog? Or
okay.
what's the preventative way I'm going to keep ticks off? And you go for your yearly appointment and get checked. And I know my dog gets checked for Lyme every year and tests negative, so that's great. And so something's working, and you use the collar. So there's all kinds of different things, but we do encourage people to, do that to do your vaccinations, obviously, but also do the preventative measures for those things. And can't force someone, but
Right.
you want your dog around for a
Strongly
long time,
encourage.
right?
Okay, so we talked about Friends of Burlington Dog Park, and it is a 501c3.
1C3.
Can't think it fast enough. How would someone go about either becoming a friend of the dog park or volunteering to help? What are some of the volunteer opportunities for someone, and how would they get involved?
Well, they can get involved either by, well, let's start with if they
Okay,
want to
let's back
make,
up.
yeah, we're going to back up a little. If you want to make donations,
Okay.
right on the website, the burlingtondogpark.com website, there is a link to make donations.
Okay.
So that's one way.
And the
of getting-
donations are used to help with the maintenance of the park. making
and
sure-
anything new that we want to.
And then, okay, so like a
add.
little capital fund to, put like those tunnels
Right.
or.
For instance, someone donated the water fountains. Someone donated 1 or 2 of the benches.
I think we're up to 3 benches.
Up to 3
Wow.
benches
That have been
were
donated.
each donated.
Cool.
So there's ways for people to do that.
Okay.
The other ways to get involved is to become a member of the Friends of,
Okay.
and that's easy to do. Just go to the Friends of and ask us to join or contact me.
Okay. Is there like a membership fee involved? Or?
no.
Oh, okay.
We're volunteers.
Cool.
The town also, the town of Burlington Parks and Recreation Department has a donation account as well. So
Okay.
sometimes we get people who have passed and their families, will say we want donations to go towards this or that.
Okay.
So we have a park donation account. We have a dog park donation account. So we would accept a donation and use
Okay.
it for, something in the dog park, buying new bags, replenishing the stone dust, whatever, those type of things,
Okay.
maintenance things. They may have a specific request.
Okay.
Hey, I noticed that bench has not been sponsored yet. What is,
Okay. So you could do it like in memory of Spot.
correct.
Okay. Spot
Correct.
is a really stereotypical name for a dog, but it's the first thing that came to mind. I don't think I've ever met a dog named Spot.
I
Come to
don't think
of
I
it.
have either.
Anyway, so what if they wanted to volunteer? What are some of the volunteer opportunities available?
Well, they could come to meetings,
Okay.
and help us make the decisions that, we can make. We have volunteers that can help us at the Burlington Goes to the Dogs Day.
Okay.
So the first year
When do you start planning that? You're already planning that now.
we are just beginning the process
Okay.
of planning it for now. So one year, in fact, we gave community service to high school students who
okay.
came and did face painting for the younger kids.
Oh, fun.
So that's one way. But there's,
What about face painting for the dog?
They did dog face painting, didn't they? Did
Well, what
faces
we
that
I
were
just
did
remember the
was-
4th of July parade one year. There was a dog that had like
Yeah,
red and blue stars
Some
on
people
him.
did that, and we talked about doing it because it's stenciling that needs to be done.
Okay.
We didn't have anyone to do that. So if we can get some volunteers who would
Like the
do
person
that.
who has the lab, I think it's a lab, who has the, every 4th of July.
Right. That,
The dog dresses?
they could come, and that's another way they could get involved. We do at Burlington Celebrate Burlington.
Yep.
We usually have a table. That's another way they could.
Okay.
It's the friends of that go and man that table to let people know what's going on. That's another way to get involved.
Fun. Excellent. And do you have to have a dog in order to become involved? Well, I know
No.
most people would.
Most people do, but no, you do not.
Because I'm just thinking, if my husband loves dogs and I'm allergic to dogs, so we can't have a dog at our house, but maybe he,
Have them go to our
vicariously
website
through-
and get involved.
Right.
Okay. I don't think he will. That's just an example. It's just an example.
We
So-
won't hold him to it.
Okay, thank you. He's actually more of a cat person. But anyway, so I know we touched upon this a little bit. The dog park has been open
Just about a year.
year.
Right.
Has it worked out the way you have planned? And what are your plans for the next year? I mean, you talked about a couple of options. Have you prioritized and know what kind of changes are going to be introduced within
That's
next year?
yeah, and I think that's our next step to make a decision on that.
Okay.
We have to make our decision. Goes to the Recreation Commission, they support it, and then we make our request to the Stanton Foundation.
Okay.
They come out and take a look at the park, which I know they've already been out a couple times and checked it out, and
Okay.
So, they come out and just make sure we're living up to our end of our memorandum of understanding
End of the deal.
to receive the money. And then they make their decision, to grant us the capital funds that we're
Okay.
asking for to do that improvement. But, we talked a little bit before about, possibly more canine grass and the expense with that. And,
Is that like the 5-year plan, or do you
We'd-
have a 5-year
I
plan?
think
or-
everyone would like to see it, and maybe it's not something that happens in year one. Maybe with more fundraising on the part of the Friends of group, maybe that comes to fruition in year 2
Okay.
or year 3 or something. So, and shade structures or and who knows? Maybe some crazy thing comes out for dog parks, and we love it, and that's something we do. But
Okay.
I think I'll say the Parks and Recreation maintenance staff has done a really good job maintaining the park. We try to put out, close the park at early morning times when the staff is in for a couple hours, so we can trim the fence line, rake
Okay.
back some of the stone dust or some of the pea stone back onto, because the dog's
Okay.
running around, kick it out of place. If we have to do maintenance on the water fountains for whatever reason, they get
okay.
pebbles stuck in them, and water just keeps coming because there's a pebble stuck behind the push button or whatever,
Okay.
something like that. Those type of
Right.
things.
And to irrigate, because the stone dust,
Oh.
once we can
okay.
irrigate it, if it's been really dry, help it keep it down.
Okay. Remove some of the dust from there.
Right.
Unfortunately, we haven't met with a lot of dryness the last few months. I mean, but
No.
the last couple days have been great. Even with just the rain last night, it's been great out. So,
Excellent.
but yeah.
Now, back to some of the fundraising. I know, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. If somebody, you mentioned the benches. So if somebody wanted to give something in particular, when they make the donation, would they say, I want this to be used for more pea stone or more of the grass?
Right. They can say what they want it to be used for. If it's something that's already that we're doing,
Okay.
that's one thing. If it's something that we didn't have any idea about,
Okay.
we would have to look into that. But mainly, what we have done was put out what we were looking for, and then
Okay.
people.
Is that also on the website? I don't remember seeing it.
I think it was maybe
It-
early
when we started.
when before the
Okay.
park was built. There was opportunities to
Okay.
sponsor a bench, to sponsor the dog fountains. Now, if someone
I still
We're
think
not-
there's one bench that
that hasn't
could
been
be
yeah,
that hasn't been
yeah,
donated.
Okay.
I think we have 4 bench. We have 6. We have 4 in the big area and 2 in the small area.
Right, and I think there's
for
one that
capacity.
hasn't been
Yeah.
with a name on
And
it.
we're not looking to put more benches in because it's just we
There's
want the
enough
dogs to
benches.
have play space.
Okay.
Humans should be at attention. They can sit,
Yeah.
obviously, but I think we will crowd it up with benches if we put more in.
Need to get some structures for the dogs to climb on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
go
maybe some
in.
natural structures, maybe some playground. They have playground equipment for dogs. They're like elevated
comes
by
up with this
10 inches. I don't know, but someone's making a lot of money, and the dogs can run through a tunnel, or they have like a ramp that goes up, maybe levels, and then goes down, and the dogs run up it. They can run
Okay.
under it. Things
Kind of
like
like
that.
all those agility training.
Exactly.
When you bring
Right.
your dog
Or
to
the small tubes that they can run in and out
Yep.
of. And
Oh.
Yeah. So there's a number of different things that they can do, and there's some communities I know, and Worcester is obviously a much larger city, but their goal is to put dog parks in their different wards or sections of the city.
Okay.
So I just went to a master planning for parks seminar, and it was put on in the city of Worcester, and they talked about when they went to put in dog parks, how people, no, I don't want the dog park here. What they did, it took them a while to get them to understand that we're going to put one in different sections of town. So not everyone from the city is going to come right to your neighborhood every day at 5 o'clock and bring their dog.
Right.
That you may be the first one, but they're going, and now I think they have 4 or 5 in the city.
Wow.
And in different sections. So, who knows, maybe down the road another dog park opens in Burlington, maybe expand on the one we have. There's not a lot of room because we do have soccer fields and stuff there.
Well, yeah.
But, I think it's a pretty good
yes,
size
dogs
too.
are our
it
furry
is.
kids,
It's a very
but-
good size. And my husband even mentioned to me yesterday, coming back from the park with our 2 dogs, said, every time I go, I'm meeting a lot of people from different towns around,
Wow.
and they're all talking about the Burlington Dog Park.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's been very popular.
And
Excellent.
as you see dog parks in our profession, we see them across the country.
Okay.
As you get into the Midwest, they're big open areas or 3 or 4 acre parks that are all grass, and that
I think
would
you'd
be
lose your dog in 4
right,
acres.
right. But they fence in these large areas, and,
Wow.
and they use the natural contours of the land, and so there's rolling hills or whatever,
Wow.
or in meadow areas and big field areas. It's quite different. Recreation in parks in New England, once you get west
New England.
of Pennsylvania,
Okay.
really
West
recreation.
of the Mississippi River.
Yeah, recreation takes a different look. It's a lot of
Interpretation.
more community-wide, multiple communities, county parks and recreation departments. Their facilities, like we look at some facilities that have large dog parks. Their pools, outdoor pools, have lazy rivers around them. Their indoor pools have lazy rivers around them and water
Wow.
slides, and
Wow.
because it's county-wide.
Okay.
So it might be 3 or 4 towns share a
Wow.
recreation center. Here, it's not that way. We're very
Okay.
singular community. So
Now, we are just about out of time.
Oh,
So
my
quickly,
goodness.
remind me of your fundraiser.
June 23rd at Bamboo Restaurant.
Just mention the dog park and 20%.
Mention the dog park or get one of those coupons that you can print right off the website.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming. I enjoyed talking to both of you.
Thank you for
I
having
want
us.
to go visit the dog park
Yeah.
now, even though I don't have a dog, but I will bring my sister and her dog.
there you go.
So thank you very much. I did learn a lot, and I hope everyone at home enjoyed tonight's conversation as much as I did. And if you have a furry 4-legged child, please feel free to visit the dog park. If not, or even if you do, I will see you around town. Good night.